something you should get more of a handle on as time goes by. And there's a lot of different ways that you can use it, a lot of different outtakes, different things that you can get out of it. And you don't always have to do it to the full extreme, like they show in the books, to get maximum advantage out of it. I think one of the problems with it is that people try to use it too soon. I'm still figuring out little subtle things about it and how it works. And every little bit that you figure out helps you. Sometimes you have to wrap your brain around it for a while before it really sinks in and starts to work for you. You may have things come up while you're timing a watch out, and yet, suddenly something makes sense. So why it's working the way it is. I'm going to keep talking and try to tighten something up here. I think I have a loose cap jewel. It's fixed. It's friction jewel. There's a little article that was out in this month's AWI that came directly out of a book by James L. Hamilton, this green book up here. And while this is not dynamic poising, it speaks quite a bit about the hairspray, overqualling, and for the past couple of months they've been doing excerpts out of this book concerning the pinning at the collar. You've done your overcoils. If you look at that particular picture and look at a picture of an overcoil, how it's drawn up like in Freed's book, you see that a lot of these numbers are exactly the same. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me for a long time. Sometimes you have to either think about it or you read some things that different people say and maybe put them together and they make sense. Do that, or somebody will say something that they'll inject a word. You read it, but you don't read it. Later you read it and you see that word, okay? Well, I think the key word in a lot of this thing is lever. Not the palette, but just leverage, how things act. We've got a few places that leverage is going to act quite a bit on, and that's the number one place really is going to be at your collar right here. This point right here where it attaches, think of that, like you're trying to fry something up. This is your point where your leverage is the greatest right here. Okay, that's where the most twist is going to be occurring at. In a lot of your newer watches, they have the spring laser welded to that one of those dynamic collets, so that it really doesn't have a point that it goes into a hole. It just extends out of the basic curve. Now you still have a leverage point there, but it's not quite as extreme as this one is right here. Think about what this goes through in the different positions that it might be in. Okay? Just due to the gravity of the spring pulling down on this right here, it's going to have a different effect in this position than it might in this position. Okay? It's also going to have maybe a different position in here. Okay? I don't know that I need to go into what the differences are and how they act in the watch, but it's going to be different in your your different positions here. With a properly laid out collet and hairspring, as it develops is what they call it. It doesn't leave the collet and then just immediately go into the circle. It sort of gradually works its way out into that circle. Mathematically, what they figured this does, and in practice it works, is they've averaged everything out. They tried to get it to where that the leverage acts the same in your different positions. Okay, so that there's not any one of them that's going to be too heavily favored, as you move it around. We look for balance in all of this. Okay, so we're just trying to get that to work right. It took me a while to figure out why that was the way that was. It's real simple, but that's, I guess I never read that word lever into it. Okay, figure out what they're actually doing there. This is, I guess y'all have messed one up there before, haven't you?
Have what?
Messed one up there before?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay, you bump that there and it's hard to fix. You bump that there when you're trying to put it in beat, you kind of just mess everything up. That's another thing it takes a while to figure out. It's just, that you really don't want to mess that up there. People use those balance tacks that they hang the balance and they reach in there and they twist it and turn it to get it and put it in beat. You got to be really skillful to get that in there without bumping that spring and tearing it up. Okay. I know some people have decided that's what they're going to do next semester. They saw it in the book, so it has to be right. Not always. Doesn't mean it's not okay to do it. Just you have to do it without messing anything else up. Sometimes it's difficult to do without messing these things up. Anyway, this is really where a lot of your errors are going to come in. I'd say that until you can really get this correct, you'll have a hard time really dialing in a really good watch. Like if you're trying to do a chronometer, they're going to run a tape or a graph on one of these for a long time. You may be looking for a maximum deviation in the error of 2 seconds overall. From the fastest to the slowest be only a 2 seconds out difference, so that makes a piece of paper on there, you got to run it about, that long. So to get that in there. And your spring can be flat, it can, you can look around, but if it's a little out here, you're going to get those kinds of errors. There's not really a whole lot of sense in going in and doing a bunch of dynamic poising if that isn't correct. If it is correct, if your spring is flat, if your balance is in fine shape, your watch is in good order and you're getting good motion, you can think about doing some dynamic poising to a watch. There's 2 ways that I look at it, is that you could dynamic poise it and actually remove weight from the wheel, or you could use the dynamic poising to determine places you might need to alter your spring a little bit. One's reversible. You can always move the spring back. Okay, when you take the weight off the wheel, it's kind of done for the most part. So
even with a wheel with screws.
Yeah.
Where you can add.
Yeah, basically, theoretically, I guess you can put the weight back on, but you don't. When you take it off, it's gone.
Right. Okay,
you alter a number of things doing that. If you take weight off of it, you really want to make sure that you're good to go in all the other facets of it. If there's anything that's not correct about the watch, I don't think you should use dynamic poise means to figure out where to take weight off of the wheel. I'll use it quite often to figure out where, what positions it's running fast or slow in, and that way use it to change the centering of my spring. People mention too that dynamic poising is primarily something that people will use in a high-grade watch with an overcoil hairspring. Doesn't mean you can't use the concepts to adjust other watches. If you've watched a nice overcoil, it's almost hypnotic the way it sits there and breathes. All directions it goes the same. You watch a flat hairspring like this one, and it doesn't exactly expand and contract evenly. Okay? So it's kind of, tends to thrust in different directions on here. It's a little tighter up here and further out over here. You have a center of gravity on it that's a little bit different than just right at the center. Some people would say, well, the center of gravity of the spring, or where it balances out at, is going to be around the staff. Not quite. It's usually focused in an area that's a little off-center. You can look at this one, see that the majority of the thrust and the weight's going to be, kind of out in here someplace. What we're trying to do, again, is we're trying to get it to where we can adjust this spring to where it doesn't really matter what position we put it in, that it's got to keep the same time. So kind of trying to align that center, depending on what it's doing in this position or this one, it's going to shift its weight, its leverage. Okay, right. It's going to be affected different by the pinning point, just the weight of the spring, regulation points, any of things. Leverage at your stud, the whole effect. So we can shift the spring away from one area to another. Basically move it around until we focus all those and get them to where that they're not trying to do the same thing. We can do a lot of that just by looking at the spring. Start out flat. Is it round? Is that center? Is it quivering when you look at it, or is it expanding and contracting smoothly? Does the spring look centered to you? Favoring one side over the other? How do you looking in between here? As far as your regulator tends to go.
And that's assuming the basic, like on our test question, that is centered to the bridge statically.
Statically.
But it's still.
You'll find that statically, when stuff is at rest, the normal outline of where the thing is blueprinted to be, it's going to get you real close. Okay, if nothing else, it's going to. If you don't even do any dynamic timing of the thing, it's probably going to. It's the way it was designed to be. It's probably going to give good results. We're talking about the fine-tuning of it.
Right.
You're going to poise it, wheel, you staff the thing, or maybe check the poise. It's not a perfect operation either. You know, any little microscopic flat spot on your pivot that may not really affect the thing when it's running can cause it to go out of poise, go look out of poise. Any little speck that lands on your tool or smudge or just...
And that won't affect it dynamically?
It may, but it may not. Okay.
Because then there's a force at play.
Yeah, you float a pool of oil inside of there, and suddenly it's suspended. You know, and the friction essentially goes away, or you put it into different positions. You know, it may actually be poised, but just the tool itself may not be letting it get there. Now, if it's drastically out, if you're swinging, you've got an issue there. But just because it's poised by itself doesn't mean that the hairspring is poised. And we poise the two. They're two separate things. Together it's a balance complete.
Right.
But separately you have a balance wheel and roller. And then you have a hairspring and collet assembly. Kind of the way it has to be, but what we're really doing with the dynamic poising is taking into account the balance or the poise of the hairspring. No, we're not removing weight on it or anything like that. We're going to adjust it so that we get everything focused and balanced out on here. All right, how do we do that? You've played with your wheels before on your poising tool. We're going to do same things in here, except we're going to do it in a watch while it runs. We're going to be searching for heavy spots. In the watch, though, instead of looking for where things find the bottom, we're going to be looking for where things are fast or slow. Two styles of, or two approaches people use for testing dynamic poise. They'll test it with the watch running at a low amplitude, or we're using this as our marker down here. 180 degrees of motion or less. In a position or with an amount of motion like that, when your watch isn't going fastest, you'll find that in that position, let's say it was running fastest in this position right now, and we stop the balance wheel, this is the heavy side of the balance. Maybe when you poise the wheel it isn't, but this is where combined balance and hairspring and everything present a heavy position. I just happen to have that screw marked. It's not heavy or anything, but if this is going to have a screw in it up here, okay, we know that's heavy. For all testing it in this particular thing, if we've got 180 degrees, okay, this watch is going to run slow in this position. The weight's up here, okay, not fast. You got this, positions like this or like this, it'll kind of be a mix. It'll be midway between the two. If you were to rotate this thing around, you'd get a fast reading, a slow reading, and a couple in between. Everything was considered normal. Now that's it with the thing getting 180 degrees or less. When we have a watch that's only getting 180 degrees, get more motion into it, things have a tendency to flow a little easier. Their momentum carries them through. You're spending less of a percentage of time involved with the escapement, okay, than you would if it was getting a lot of motion. A lot of times the watches don't really like to run when it's this good. So you get some other errors, but nevertheless, if getting 180 degrees of motion or less, your heavy place will show itself off when it's, down, when you stop it. If you're getting exactly 220 degrees, which is, we're marking the screw right here, to be about 180, plus about this much right there. All the poise errors have a tendency to balance each other out.
At 220?
Yeah, more on kind of why that goes on later. You'd say, well, why don't we get all watches to run at 220? It has to run exactly 220. Not 223 or 117, but right at 220.
Amplitude.
You'll get a balance on these things. You'd be surprised how many watches in here. You've probably seen some of them get right at about 220 degrees when you bring it in. Not a good straight line. There's a reason for that, Now, if you get more motion than that, which is preferably at about 270 to 300, when you find a position that the watch runs fast, say it was running fast in this position right here, your heavy spot will be up here, not down here.
The higher end.
It'll be exactly off.
So where a heavy spot will manifest itself basically away from the bridge.
Well, away from gravity.
Away from gravity.
Okay.
No matter where on the 306, because it's pivot, it's studded and rotates only a certain.
Yeah, we're gonna take that completely out of it. We're just gonna think of.
Oh, okay. So hypothetically,
yeah.
not
yeah. Now
practicality.
What I use for a marker on these when we're doing dynamic poising is not the stem, not the bridge. Use the roller. Okay? Use the roller. Which, in effect, you could also use the fork. Hey, Daddy. Yeah. In many cases, you can also use just the straight line that you're seeing through the escape wheel.
Commercial beat line.
Okay, exactly. Okay. For a lot of demonstrations, a lot of books and discussions, we'll use 4 different positions, here, 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 and here. Just because 4 is easier to talk about than 8. But normally, just for dynamic poising, it seems to work a little easier, and you can graph it out if you use 8 positions. This would be position 1. Doesn't matter whether it's got a stem in it or not. We're not going to talk about the stem. We're not talking about the bridge. We're not talking about anything. We're looking at where the roller jewel is facing. Okay? This is position 1. Position 2 would be 45 degrees from that. Position 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we got 8 different places that we can go. We can graph this little guy out.
So 15-minute increments, or no,
45 degrees.
7.5-minute increments.
rotate the watch. Let it run for a little bit. Time is, up to you. You can let it run for quite a while, or you can let it run for, just however long. And you move it, and then you keep moving. What you're going to end up with is if you have an absolutely perfect watch, they'll all be doing the same thing. They'll either all be gaining or losing or sitting at zero, saying, plus 2 seconds, plus 2, plus 2, plus 2.
It won't go minus on 180 degrees and plus on the other.
Yeah, it won't be all different.
Sides.
Most of the time, though, when you're just working with this, you'll find that there's variation. Usually, the variation from the alpha, okay, or not the alpha, the delta is the amount of change. The maximum difference between the two will be opposite of each other. You'll have your maximum gaining position in one area, which will be just opposite of your maximum losing position. Now, they won't always be exactly the same, like one side plus 7, the other side minus 7, but you'll have your maximum gain and loss usually opposite of each other. It happens other ways too, but if you get that, you usually have some other error going on in your watch that should alert you to go back and look some stuff over again, because you probably don't need to be dynamically poising it now. You've probably got collet errors or bad pivots or bad jewels or something like that, or dry jewels. But when you find where you've got a heavy spot, say it was in position 5, which would be when you turn your watch 5 right here. When we take the power down off the watch and let it come to a rest, the screw on the bottom is where we would remove weight from. Okay, that's where we would want to remove some weight, or from the wheel at that point.
So the wheel would stop in that.
You can take the power off the watch.
Right. I mean, once it takes the power in.
Yeah, it'll be that part that's hanging down.
Right.
You wouldn't even necessarily have to take the power off the watch. You could simply just stop it,
Right.
stop the wheel, and note that position on there is where you need to remove weight from. In the factory, some of them have these little devices. They're a miniature little fly cutter. You've seen those little biscuit cuts out of the bottom of balance wheels, little scoops? They've got little miniature ones of those that fit in the watch. They go underneath here, cut it out, and vacuum it at the same time.
What?
They don't even have to take the watch balance out of there. They don't have to let the power off.
That's a good thing.
They'll sit there now
Does it, vacuums it, and it's small enough to fit in there.
and do a precise job too. This is, I think, you'll see some of these in places, and the person that sits there does that. He dynamically times watches it. Basically his or her job. I usually saw guys doing that. I saw the ladies doing everything else with the hairspring and the balance wheel. You always had a guy doing that. I don't know why. That's just some trait, I guess.
Dynamically poising, do you almost always do it in X position? Vertical.
Yeah. Poising does not have any effect dial up or dial down. It really doesn't have any.
And why? Too complicated?
It's going to be a morph,
Yeah, between.
It's a good position to test watches, like this.
Mm-hmm.
Just see what it does. Now you can find a heavy spot, or you find a fast spot, whichever you want to call it. You can use that information to either remove weight, or you can also use it to say, well, in this spot, my hairspring is heavy, or it sags in this direction, okay? You know, like this were our heavy place down here. We know that our hairspring there was more hairspring down here maybe, okay, at 180 degrees. At 270 degrees, if this is the fast spot, there's too much hairspring up here.
Mm-hmm.
So then we'd have to maybe form it down this way a little bit.
Bring it, yep.
Okay. You find where, you know, which way your fast and your slow is, and know your amplitude, you can get a good idea of where you need to shift your spring, or which pin it happens to be favoring. Okay, a lot of stuff goes on right here. You may not need to do anything out here. You may find that just simply shifting the hairspring back here so that it moves it a little bit more towards one of those pins takes care of everything. It also shifts this too a little bit, which, you know, may not be what you need, but
That's where, like, the Edicon would have an advantage.
yeah, it can.
Because you could turn
twist
that.
It's also why you want them to be really normally as close
Parallel,
as parallel and as close, so that there isn't huge variation from one position to another. Okay. Some folks will actually fit their watches up and adjust them so that they constantly rest on one pin, even when it's in another position, so that it's always it's almost like a free-sprung balance at that point. They get rid of these in high-grade watches. Not always, a lot of them. Almost all your men's Rolexes are going to be free-sprung. It's elegant looking, and it gets rid of the regulator pins, which are a common source of problems in your watch. Okay. I told you where we were going to go, and then we kind of talked about what to do when you get there, why you're going there. So if that's all you knew about it, you can play with it. Now I'm gonna throw you the rest of the sandwich that's in the middle. Okay? Don't forget what you just went over. That's the important part. Okay?
So you could do, let's say here's a heavy spot, it's 180 degrees or less. You could remove the weight before you could work on the spring.
Give you that option. Okay? Depends on what you might need to do. Spring may be perfect.
Okay.
You know, if you think the spring is perfect,
And
and by altering it, you're going to change up dynamics in all other ways, well then that spot on the balance, it's like computer balancing a tire.
Right.
Or more or less tires like this. We had these before they had rubber tires. But a long time before they were they even had dynamic timing, kind of balancing tires against they were goodwill. Get a piece of paper. I already have it written down. There are two different things that can affect your wheel. You have impulses and you have resistances. You're going to a lot of factors that can contribute to those. Either energy being put into it, resistances placed on it, magnetism, air resistance, motions of your arm, roughness of pivots, frictional errors, and all different varieties of things that come into play to cause a resistance or an impulse. You're going to have whether you want them or not. Ideally, if you can sort of balance the two out, you come to an equilibrium. If you have nothing but impulse, and nothing to slow it down, you end up with a really fast going piece.
That's right.
Something's going to slow it down eventually. It comes all the way around and knocks on itself.
Right.
It's got a little more impulse than it's got resistance. Okay? It's not good. Most of our things in here fall into the line of having too much resistance. Whether it's bad oiling, dirt, goo, hair strings rubbing, whatever. You got resistances, but when they complement each other, you end up with a consistent piece. You try to get the impulses the same on both sides of your balance arc. They're usually not the same. We try to get the resistances to be the same. They're usually not the same. At some point, one side of the swing may get more resistance than the other. Correspondingly, the other side might get a little bit more impulse than that other side. But as a whole, they somewhat balance out. They've designed the escapement, this lever, with different angles, which we'll talk about next semester. We talked about before the equidistant, semi-equidistant, and a circular escapement. Those simply apply to the angles that they're putting on the jewels, the angles that they're putting on the faces, and some of the distances that they have inside of here. Give the escapement its characteristics, whether it's a balance in impulses, or whether it's a balance in resistances, or whether they try to get both of them pretty close to being balanced. There's pros and cons to each one of them. It seems like when you get it all good over here, something else ain't working right, or as good as it could. So you get all this working right, this doesn't work. I try to make everybody happy, nobody's happy. Okay, so it's a metaphor for life right here. It doesn't really matter which one we're using. Same things are going to apply. Okay. Pack that away for a minute. Bring in a concept of a dead point. A dead point is where things come to an equilibrium. Good example of that is you ever go to the park and watch the little children on the swing? Better be careful.
These days.
You're not supposed to do that.
My children on the swing, yeah.
Have you ever?
Remember back when you used to be on the swing, or when you get on one, and you swing up really high and get that feeling of weightlessness, and then you drop back down, and then the other side kind of just hang there for seconds, feels like. That's a dead point. Okay. If we were to watch this white screw right here, okay, this is a dead point. when it passes through this center portion right here, is another dead point. Now, even though it's moving, the spring is in a neutral position. It's not expanded nor contracted. All the weight and everything is essentially just neutral. That's a dead point. It's a dead point for the escapement too, because it's right in the middle of everything. Swings back up this way, stops momentarily. That's a dead point. So as this is going back and forth like this wheel is going through 3 different dead points. That's if it's getting 180 degrees or less. Okay. Now, here's also 180. There's a dead point there. There's a dead point there, and there's a dead point there. Same thing. Okay. Let's bump it up to 220. Okay. Now you got an additional dead point. You got a dead point here, 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 and you got a dead point here. It's a odd deal here on this one though, because when you take it to 220, it hasn't quite gotten to that nice point of 270 or better, but it's past the 180. So it gives you, it sort of balances in between the two. If we could get a watch to run exactly 220 all the time, it'd be fantastic, but we can't. Okay, so that's the problem with that. But when we have a watch with about 270 degrees, or about 3/4 of the deal, we have a dead point, a dead point, a dead point, a dead point, and a dead point. Okay. Okay. Packet that. Okay. Second level of your sandwich. Third ingredient of your sandwich is a impulse that you get, which would be a force that would move the wheel in the direction you want it to go. An impulse before the dead point will result in a gain. An impulse after the dead point will give you a loss. If you get a resistance before the dead point, you get a loss. Resistance after the dead point, you get a gain. Yeah, that's with any resistance or any impulse. Okay, now, as we watch our wheel, okay, let's say at 180, okay, it's right here, it's stopped. Okay, I let it go. As it's going this direction, you're getting an impulse from your hairspring. Okay, it's what's pulling it through. Okay, so this is going to be an impulse after the dead point. Okay, it's already come up here, it's stopped, now it's going this way. Okay, so at this particular point, as it's going through this acceleration cycle here, I always kind of have to refer to my little chart. I'm getting an impulse after the dead point, which in effect is creating a loss in time. I'm not saying slowness or anything, but it results in actually a loss in the in what your hands read. Just flow with this for a second, because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, not necessarily running slow, but it's losing time at that moment in time.
It's going to result in a loss in what your hands are saying. Okay, what it's doing right then, okay?
That moment in
exact-
time.
Now, at some point down here, we're going to get to a point to where we're getting an impulse before the dead point. Okay, this is the dead point down here.
Mhm.
So we're still getting some sort of an expansion out of this spring right here.
Right.
Okay, at this particular point, we're at a dead point. The expansion and the, basically the force that it's going through is at neutral right now.
Right.
So we're getting an impulse before the dead point that results in the gain. So we went through a period of loss and a period of gain right there. That's kind of what we want, isn't it?
Right.
Sort of
Right.
evens out. Now as it's going this way, we get an interesting circumstance. We've got at this particular point right here, our spring is neutral, and it has to expand now past where its neutral point, so you're going to get resistance. Resistance after the dead point results in a gain. Okay, now it's going to come up here and get resistance before the dead point on that part, which is a loss. So it's exactly opposite of what it did on the other side.
Right.
Now we're going to get some little issues that go on, and we're just talking about a wheel here that's going through and just swinging back and forth, and it's not going through an escapement. As you go through the escapement, you have other issues, let's say. Quickly, it's coming through here. As soon as that roller jewel hits that fork, it has to unlock it. There's resistance.
Yep.
Okay? It unlocks it, and suddenly it's getting impulse. Okay? And so you get resistances and impulses that are going on inside of there, and they're happening pretty fast, but you have different ones happening before
Between, right.
and after the dead point as it goes through here. The escapement always results in a loss as it goes through there. It has to go through there each time to unlock the train of wheels or the escape wheel and also to get an impulse. But there's always a direct loss as a result of interacting with the escapement. To keep that loss at a minimum, they try to make sure that your watch has a lot of motion. Okay? The better your motion, the less is the time interacting with the escapement. If your watch is only getting 180 degrees and your lift angle or your angle of engagement here is 52, you're almost spending a third of your time engaged with your escapement. If you got 270 to 300, you're about 6. It cuts in half. So it's a better situation. That's another reason you want better motion. The object in motion wants to stay in motion too, so it's less interrupted by the effects of the escapement as it goes through there too. Less time, it's going to bowl its way through there and not be so, bounced around on that.
So the roller jewel and the pallet fork and the pallets on the exit and entrance and the escape wheel Poise causes a lot of time.
Yeah, it's going to cause a loss as a result of these rules, laws, facts, whatever you want to call them. In conclusion, I think.
In other words, so it's only these two.
It
only impulses after.
Well, it doesn't mean that it's all loss.
Okay.
Okay, so there's loss.
The total loss.
The total, there is
always a total
there's a
loss.
marginal
So
loss.
the pluses are always smaller than the minuses.
Yeah, it's always going to be that way.
Okay.
Okay. Which sounds odd. You say, how does this work? How does the watch work if the thing that's keeping it going is slowing it down? It doesn't seem right, but for that marginal amount of time, it's
Yeah,
it's
something
engaged.
to do
It's almost
with-
like it's having to reload, you know? It's just,
Almost like you can't, create energy.
Yeah.
Or something.
There's
Can't put in
yeah.
more than what you're gonna do.
Almost, if you, it goes back to pushing somebody on a swing. While you're actually touching them and pushing them, you're slowing them down, man. It's almost, it's just how it works.
Yeah.
As long as they're swinging by themselves, they're keeping a pretty uniform time them sometimes. Doesn't matter whether they're going way high, or whether they're just going like this. It's taking the same amount of time for them to complete that arc, either way. It's what we call isochronal. And you can almost get that with a pendulum. You can't get it with a balance wheel. We try. Okay. We mix some things up in here, and we compromise escapements and compromise locations of how the hairspring acts, and make that special curve with the collet and all that. All these things are compromises to try to achieve the thing being isochronal. Whereas if it was just had a pendulum on it, and the person could just sit there and hold their arm still, real still, they could get a lot better time out of it. We can't get them to do that, so we're going to have to work with this.
Amazing.
Let's play with the wheel a little bit, and we're going to do some. We're going to do some different arcs with stopwatch, timing them. I'm going to, we're going to set this wheel into motion, and it's a lot of frictions in this big old thing. So I mean, as we set it into motion, it's almost immediately starts losing amplitude. Okay, the resistances start coming in on it, but it's still interesting. We can make this do a number of the things that you're going to find it needs to do in dynamic poising. My first thing I'm going to get you to take a timer.
I'm okay. You go ahead.
You sure? Yeah, we got enough here. Wind it up and play with it and get it to where you can make it operate. So what we're going to do here is we're going to time 5 cycles of this. Okay. This will be one of the cycles here. Okay, if I'm going to do 180, I'm going to let it go. And I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See how long that takes. It should be pretty much the same on all of these, okay? Now, depending how well some of these things got timed out, if I get 15 and a half, you get 15.4, you get 15.6, and somebody else gets 19.3. There's something wrong with their process, or the watch is freaky. Okay, we're going to find that out. We're going to do that 5 swing thing, okay? Remember, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, go. If I can get 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I lost a lot of amplitude on that, but what do we get? I got 15.3, something like that.
Straight up 15.
Straight up 15.
Yeah, okay, so we're right at around We're right at, how many, you got a fifth of a second feeding watch, yours is a fifth, yours is a tenth, okay, cool, all right. Yeah, we're right in, we can call it,
I don't know how to change that.
we can call it, you know, right at around, you just remember that, we're at 15.3, something like that, okay?
Just press it again.
No, I do. All it does is shows another. I have to be smarter than the watch. I'm trying to reset the sub hand.
I saw it jump. I think it's got a little bit of a problem.
Good chase?
It's probably just loose.
Oh, okay. Somebody's worked on that. Wasn't going to mention any names.
Next, I'm going to take it, bring it on up to 220. They're right in about here. Okay, it's going to lose some, but we're going to compensate, get a little more than 220. We'll do the same thing. My estimate is we'll get about the same amount of time to do this, okay? Ready, 1, 2, 3, go. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. A little bit longer. Not much.
15 and a half.
Okay, so we did have a little bit of change, but not anything radical. Okay. Let's wind it on up and get about 270 or better. Okay. Same thing now. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop. Okay. That's what you would really want to have. If you had something like that, I mean, you have a wheel that's pretty much isopronal. The long arcs are taking the same amount of time as the short arcs.
Slower slope.
And that's pretty good. Okay, that would be an ideal situation. Okay, that happens every second when you watch. Okay, 5 times. This is a high beat watch. It's going to happen more often. We're mimicking a second here in this second period of time. Let's
In the 1800 beat watch, right? 18, I always say the 18,000, right?
Let's take this screw out on the bottom and let's replace it with a screw. It should weigh more. I would think.
Acrylic, aluminum.
I don't know. Well, I bet we'll find out.
What do you think it's going to do if it's heavier there? And I have it at 180 degrees.
Heavier
Faster.
there.
Heavier on the bottom. Okay, you saying faster? I'll go with that. We're going to bring it to where we're getting 180 or less. And we're going to do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop.
14.6.
Yeah. It's faster, isn't it? Yeah. It's less time. Interesting. This is what we thought it was going to do. What do you think it's going to do if we bounce it on up here to where we're getting about 220? My guess is probably going to be, this is the harder one to do, it's loose. You can't hardly keep it at 220, but it's probably going to be more along the lines of what it was without the weight on there at all.
Oh, okay.
It's not
220.
It's not going to matter. Okay. So, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah. Lots worse.
Weird, huh?
Yeah.
It changed a lot, just moving it over that
Sure
much.
is.
Okay.
How fast
See,
was it?
that just shows you
Yeah,
right off.
15.7.
That just
Oh,
shows you
wow.
right off the bat that you got, you gotta know how much motion you've got, so you can help you identify where that heavy spot is. Okay, let's try it with a goodly amount of motion on here. Okay, let's see what it does in there. Do the same thing. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, stop.
Can be.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
It's a lot slower. Isn't it?
Yeah, a lot slower.
The amount of motion and your location of your weight will change the way everything goes. That's okay. Now we know what that's doing if it's at the bottom in that position. And now this doesn't matter whether the bridge is here. You could simply just you'd be rotating it. You show through those 8 different positions. Which is what you'd be doing. You'd be seeing where it's going fast.
But yeah, I'm getting that. I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around when you said that the heavy spot would always be down.
When you stop your
When
watch.
you stop it.
Okay. At 180.
Okay, when the amplitude is
180 or less.
Okay.
The heavy spot will be up here, and it's over 220. So we're going to take and change the one out that's on the top. That same aluminum screw. And,
Do you know how much heavier it actually is?
no, you never actually weighed it. We've got a steel one here.
Really? Okay, then.
And we're going to do the same thing on this. What we want to do is we're just going to wind it up and we're going to give it 180. Now the weight's at the top. Okay, what's it going to do? It's going to be faster or slower?
Okay, it's heavier up there in reality, so it's going to be slower this time.
Slower. When the weight was at the bottom and we had 180, it was faster.
Faster, yeah, okay.
When it's heavy down here and it's only getting this, it's going to go faster. When you have it at the top, it's going to go slower. Okay? Getting back to that impulses before the dead point thing, too. Okay? Lots of different impulses and things like that. Let's just do the weight for one. Okay? Impulses due to weight. Before it was all equal. I give this 180. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. A lot slower, wasn't it?
Way slow.
Like 16 and a quarter, something like that. A lot slower. Maybe we could see about getting 220 on here. Again, this one is kind of hard to do. Faster or slower than that last one? I'm going to say
Faster than
Take
the
less
last
time.
one,
yeah. Okay. It's going to take
but
less.
still maybe slower than.
Hard to say. About
Yeah.
on this.
Let's
Change.
find out.
It's going to be somewhere. If this was
Kinda
last
faster.
16 and a quarter seconds, this is probably going to be in the 15-second area. So it's going to be fast. It's going to take less time to do, I would think. So let's try. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. right back down there, up to
50 and some change, yeah.
Just in that area. It did the same thing when it didn't have a heavy spot. Okay, did the same thing when it didn't have a heavy spot. Faster, slower, what's it going to do?
Now it's going to be
Slower.
slow.
Okay, with the heavy spot at the top, okay, and you're getting
Now past
270. It's going to be slower, you think? I think it's going to be faster. Yeah, faster. than
More
that.
amplitude,
Yeah.
and heavier speed. Yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Just under 15.
Interesting, huh?
It makes sense.
That was our experiment.
Now, obviously, in terms of once you let it go, it's almost getting in this piece, almost 360 degrees. 260, right? From the spot where we started.
Did you work on that?
No, it's one.
But when we talk about like 180, 180 degrees of amplitude, that's just the amount. Either the watch is powered down such that it's getting very little, or in
Or
this
it's
case,
got-
you're just actually turning it that much to give it that much. But once you let it go and it powers itself, obviously that number.
It's going to drop. It's going to drop usually. We start out with say 270s. By the time we end up, we've lost some. But you've got the three magic numbers. You've got 180, 220, or 180. If you get that or less, anything past 180 it will change it some. Okay. Anything past 220 is going to change it again. You know, we look at the 220 and the 180 as being two biggies. 270 to 300 don't really mean much other than that they, you know, it's just that's a good amount of motion. Yeah. Any more than about 315, and you have problems with the thing coming around hitting on 4. Okay. If you have this piece in here though, and you put that really heavy weight in there, you know, you're gonna have an issue on this. Okay. Looks like some of your wheels that support.
Yeah, it does.
So, the heavier the weight, you know, the more influence.
So, yeah, that's going to be resistant.
Again, when you're talking about dynamic poise, you know, I say it enough. You can use these rules regardless of whether you've got a cheap watch or finest chronometer in the world. The things are going to work. How you interpret these things won't change, but what you do with that information should vary with your piece and what you're expecting to get out of it, and what you know to be true about the watch and its condition. So it's it's gonna, you know, fall into play on some where you would need to remove weight from the wheel, and others are gonna be situations where you can probably manipulate the other components of the watch. You know, how you manipulate the weight off the wheel is different, you know, just if you have to take it off to do that, you know, some people will use what they call a balance scaffold, a little thing that the balance can actually hang on to. You don't want to touch it with your fingers or anything like that. That adds weight. You just defeated your purpose there. If you have to take the balance out of there and really high grade work, you'll have to clean all the pivots off again. You know, take the oil out, you know, and it's on the pivot. You might touch the fork on your way in or something else and cause some headaches. So depends what you're trying to get at. But that's another reason I get y'all to try to do the same thing with the tape that you bring up to me, so I know what positions they are. Then I can look at the watch and get an idea of what it's doing. If they're just, you know, scattered positions and they're doing different things, I really don't know what it's doing. We use the stem quite a bit, you know, as a locator.
Right.
It's just easy to see.
Sure.
But on here, remember, we didn't use the stem at all. It doesn't even come into play. We're just simply using the roller jewel and natural rotation. That up. What else do I have in here that I can throw at you? The more you play with this, you know, from this here to, you know, what we were doing right there, you know, you'll have moments all of a sudden, these little eureka moments. You know, you'll keep having those. Just little, I mean, it's just, you may read something a lot of different times. And have it not really, you'll understand it, but it won't make as much sense. These wheels that have split balances like you have in old watches, these are one of the times I'm a bit leery of doing any kind of actual real dynamic poising where I remove weight from that wheel, because these can get flexed so easy. And when you're poising a wheel like this, you have to consider that you may be bending the wheel, you know, a few hundredths of a millimeter of motion and movement in one of these can change the way that whole thing acts.
So,
since they do move, where you take weight off of it will change as the thing expands and contracts too. So
you're almost, so I assume you're talking about statically poisoning that, so.
Statically poison, it makes a difference on, you know, how you affect this thing. It should be perfectly true. You know, no out of rounds on this thing for sure. And don't knock it out of round when you're trying to take the weight off.
Well, I would think that you'd be better off using a little tool and removing the screw.
That's why a lot of them probably did that.
And then taking the weight off and then putting it back on.
There's a lot that went on into the timing with these little guys right here. Normally they're pretty old. And just the fact that they run and get good motion is more than oftentimes. You know, if it runs all day long and all night, man, that's
a good thing.
It's a killer, you know. So we're happy that goes on, but it's amazing what you can achieve with these too. And the concept of people that, you know, adjust these for heat and cold, you know, and get the weight, the proper weight in just the right area, so as it doesn't expand evenly in all directions. It throws itself out of poise as it's operating. The weight that you put here and here, it's going to speed it up and slow it down as it moves a whole lot more than one that's really close to the arms, because it doesn't move as much there. So you can get yourself into a lot of trouble dynamic poising something, you know, at this nice room temperature. You after you destroy a watch, you know? Absolutely destroy it.
Mr. Poye, obviously, you know, our first efforts at pinning springs and whatnot, you know, we actually made a bend to put the tail piece in the collet. And obviously, no bend is actually, I mean, they're all have a curve to them, but in reality, I mean, I think at least my bend is like almost
More
sharp
angular.
angle. Is the best actually
Curve.
a curved slope?
Actually, they're gonna have a bend and another bend.
Right.
That's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
That was coming out.
actually put two bends in mine, but I was just wondering if,
I
even
came
though
out
there's a
straight at
bend
90,
there,
so.
in the end, and there's a bend here and there is a bend here, it's better to actually have this a smoother bend
Probably
than a
not.
sharper bend,
Usually most of the ones I see in here are done, I'd just like to show you right there.
fairly sharp.
Yeah. Okay. But you notice
Not
how
angle-wise,
it
but-
doesn't come out and then immediately after the radius, it isn't out to that full diameter yet.
Right.
Okay? It slowly gets out to that
Okay.
diameter. Again,
See, I was making it.
that's because no matter what they try to do with this, the leverage that this thing has in this position as opposed to that position, what the spring is trying to do to it. Now,
Okay.
think of it as a pry bar on that area. It's gonna, if you have pries different here
Then it does right there, yeah, I
or
got it. Yeah.
like this, okay? So what they're doing with this is, they're locating it so they kind of equalize them all. It's a simple way to think about it, but it's done mathematically on here. You'll see, you look at an overcoil, look at a drawing for, you know, the overcoil, it goes up the top of the spring, and it has the same numbers. I mean, it's identical. Look at Freed's book or anybody else's, and almost without exception, the numbers that they use to form the overcoil have the same, have a picture of it in here. This one. Have these very same numbers in here. Now, this is an old deal. I mean, I don't understand all the physics that go into that or why these numbers always have to be that way, but they say like they've found that these work.
Right.
I think it's
Why change it?
a combination of math and experiments that produce these particular arrangements on here. And there's a lot of ways that you can come about having these numbers end up being correct. Okay, so there's some different variances that are thrown in, and people have, but they're going to still conform to a lot of those same numbers. They call it